Like it?
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, well, it probably wouldn't sound as good, but I reckon you could have it backwards.
Heading into the second matchup of the night, then we will be bringing you, of course, FURIA versus INTZ, and hopefully, and I am certain, there will be just as much entertainment in this one as there was in our opening matchup of Team 1 versus W7M. We've got a couple of bans coming in. Hibana and Thatcher will go off the board, so that will leave Ace still available. Echo will be the first. And what's the betting we might see a Malusi ban here?
Surely, right. Ooh, actually, no. Okay. This is interesting. So, you know what, Tim? I'm going to go out a bit on a whim. I feel like potentially then, based off of this, we might not actually see them banned out over the course of this first week, at least the first play day. I don't feel like teams want to get rid of it. It seems like in LATAM, they are willing to just adapt and play it. And yeah, we're going to get both put in immediately. It seems like this has just become the new normal immediately, with Ace and Malusi just getting thrown into the meta, and it makes sense. Like, as operators, they have a lot. In terms of their kits, they're really nice to play. They have so much utility, and the utility they do have is ridiculously strong compared to some of the ops that would fill that role normally.
Certainly is, and you know, Bodega commented on it and said that they are very powerful at the moment, and he said he expects to see, as time goes on, us see a higher ban rate for them here in LATAM. But it's nice. I quite like seeing them involved. Let's see them used. Let's see exactly how they look. You know, at the end of the day, if they banned out all the time, we can't actually see what sort of impact they're having. You know, we can only make presumptions at that point. So yeah, I think, you know, we did see a few moments between Clubhouse and Coastline. The one that really rings back to me is that Malusi on cash stairs on Clubhouse, with the combined with the Wamai to prevent it being taken out. I think that's probably a sort of a combination that we will start to see more of, where Malusi is available. Will be the Wamai coming in alongside just to protect it, basically keep any of those projectiles away from destroying that gadget.
They do synergize quite nicely. Talking of what the viewers at home seem to think, though, it seems like we've got 83% representing INTZ to take this one. That's 10% of the vote to FURIA and 6% going towards overall a draw here on Consulate. So a lot of support coming out for INTZ, Tim.
Yeah, not too much of a surprise. As I say, I think if, you know, all we can really look to is the form at the end of stage 1. And it does go out of the window a little bit. We are sort of 6 weeks on from there. But ultimately, INTZ certainly looked the stronger team at that point. And FURIA have made a couple of changes as well that are just a complete unknown entity at the minute. You know, we don't know how well those players are going to gel. But what we do know is, as I've said, that it will have impacted the preparation that they could do, because their preparation is going to have looked a lot different to maybe what other people's have. So we'll see how much that impacts. But right now, a minute into the round, we have not had any come-ins together as of yet. And quite interestingly, we've got Drunks on the Oryx jacket. It's one that we always like to see.
It is indeed. I've had a couple of spicy little Oryx plays in the past. One of them that definitely stands out to memory, but let's see if we're going to get any more to add to that list tonight. First frag is found, though, as Bursa dropped down straight away. It was a bit of a clash between both the Ace and Malusi, but Malusi will come out on top in that encounter, barely surviving with about 10 HP left. And we're down to a minute 30 now on the clock. It's a 4 versus 5. FURIA, what are your options here? What are you going to set your focus towards, and how do you adapt to get yourself onto this site with enough time to pick up the win? Fred's rotating back around so he can sync up at least with the rest of the teammate, but they don't have much map control here, Tim. This is going to be a struggle if they don't find an entry relatively soon.
It is. FURIA haven't had the most success on Consulate previously. We've seen them play it twice and lose it twice. We haven't actually ever seen them attack onto Archives and Tellers, so it's not a site that they are necessarily overly familiar with. But Fred, we know he can be a gunner. He comes in and gets himself one, followed up by one of the new boys. Novice will get himself one, but be traded there, as Vitz will get the kill onto Highs, directly traded by Lender. So Lender and Novice coming in and having a big impact to begin with, but that allows Fred to move in and get that diffuser down. So good attack coming out from FURIA here. Very objective focused. They've got themselves into the site and been able to take advantage of it. Novice with another kill on the round. He's had a big start for FURIA there, and that is going to be round number 1 going to FURIA.
That's a sick way to start it off, and that's the dream scenario as well, especially if it's going to be two of the new boys that are on the team. You want them to perform and immediately start to get that hype going. It gets the blood pumping a bit, Tim, makes you feel a little bit more confident in your plays, right? And as we've said in the past, Siege is quite literally confidence. If you don't have confidence going into the game, you've already lost. So it's nice to see they've been able to pull out a couple of tasty frags there to start it off. You've got the opening round on the board that was brought back really from a position that didn't look great for them. Seemed like there was almost no right of them getting that towards the M, Tim, but they do pick it up.
Yeah, great round from them. They just showed basically make a lot of noise in one location, get a couple of kills, and just wander in and get the diffuser down in another. It just completely took INTZ's eye off the ball, away from that archive site, and Fred was able to take full advantage of that and put the diffuser on the ground. And good opening round for Novice there, 3-0. We picked him out coming into it. He has got plenty of experience and has been a successful player previously, so he is going to be a big part of this lineup going forward now. INTZ, they need to get themselves around on the board here. They don't want to go too far behind. They don't want the pressure starting to mount and having that same sort of struggle that they did in the first half of the stage last time around.
All right. Round two, FURIA, you picked up the first. Will they be able to keep it going straight into the second? And is there more free Ks to come from Novice? For Fred as well. Like, honestly, over last season, Fred the Bread, he was dubbed it for a reason. He was so consistent with some of the kills that he was picking up. He was a big impact fragger for the side. And when you let someone like that play on an Ashe, an operator that just feeds into it, the sheer speed and aggression that she can deal out, it can be so fun to watch. Hopefully we get moments from Fred like that, but I will also add as the caveat, honestly, Tim, for last season, I always thought he was so much better on his defense. I reckon that's where he shines his best.
Oh, Fred's a real danger on the defense. He's sort of like a box of frogs. He's just completely unpredictable, Jackie.
Ooh, chocolate frogs or just normal ones?
Just the straight up regular ones.
Crikey.
Chocolate frogs have only got one good jump in them, I've heard.
Oh, all right. Well, there you go. Tim, have you ever seen that GIF of the 3 frogs that get given a worm? But there's only one worm, and one of the frogs eats it, and the other frogs are livid at the fact that he's just stole it.
I've not seen that one.
Look it up. If anyone has any idea what I'm talking about, enjoy remembering it. For now, though, we'll start to glance back towards what's going on here. Round 2, 1 minute and 50 seconds on the clock. Of course, INTZ, all 5 players alive. Same could be said for FURIA, but that could change relatively quickly, especially with VNX's cheeky play from this angle. But he needs to get out of there soon, Tim. Oh, the difference a few seconds could have made there is game-changing.
It certainly is. If he just shows that aggression and takes the peak earlier, the nade maybe doesn't rain in, and he would live to fight another day. Maybe even take one with him. Novice getting in on the action once again. 4th kill so far inside of 2 rounds, and he will take Vits off the board. Now, the important thing about VNX being taken out of bathroom is it's going to allow that ace. We saw Bursa's gadget shot off the wall, and what they're trying to do is open the line of sight up to connector. So what happens then, and that is the room that's directly opposite the bathroom, what happens is it forces all the defenders back into the meeting side, and it starts to allow the attackers to think about getting into console and getting that diffuser down on the ground. But right now there's only one thing going through their mind, and that is Novice getting kills. 5th so far with 0 deaths. Highs, he gets in and gets that diffuser down. Novice with another 2, and that is a perfect round from FURIA. And wowee, they look almost as good as W7M.
83% of people said that INTZ were going to come out with a big win here on Consulate. And I feel like that's 83% of people in the chat right now, Tim, that are going to be thinking, what on earth have they been feeding FURIA over the off-season? Especially for Novice. All eyes on this newcomer, making his debut here into the BR6 and making it a loud one, Tim. This is some clinical stuff that's coming out, and I hope it's sustainable. He's looking really good right now.
Heading into round number 3 then, and FURIA, let's call it as we see it, take an unlikely 2-0 lead to begin with. Unlikely only in the sense that they are a slightly unknown entity coming into this with those 2 roster changes. BMH and Miracle, of course, going by the wayside. Miracle, I believe, is still in a substitute position, so still is available to play for the roster. But Novice coming in and having the biggest impact so far, 7-0. He is going wild at the minute, and INTZ, they need to try and recognise, they need to find where that Zofia is in the map, and they need to shut him down in numbers and just get him closed out of these rounds a little bit earlier than they've been able to, or not at all so far. They've not been able to get a kill onto him at all.
They need to shut him down as well, because if this is a matter of Novice just building up confidence round after round, having 7 kills in the space of 2 is basically going to put him on a rocket ship to Mars, Tim. And he will be over the moon, not only figuratively, but quite literally in how his smile will be looking. From ear to ear with his performance so far. He picked up those first 2 rounds relatively cleanly. The first one as well, it didn't even look like it was theirs to win. It felt like it was a round for FURIA to lose, but they bit back. They played really nice in the late stages of it and started to lock down the game. Coming back in here now, though, to round 3. Let's see if that will begin to change. About 2 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock. We haven't had any opening frags just yet, but they are attempting to take map control. Basically playing more of a split and pick here on the attacking side of FURIA.
I mean, we can see from the, the player cams there, we've got a great view of what's going on in the FURIA camp, and it's certainly, they are a professional setup. They are dedicated. Yeah. They're all there together. That really does have an impact on teams. We see this, and obviously at the minute, in some circumstances, that is difficult for teams to do with travel restrictions, etc., that we've got in place. But the fact that FURIA have been able to do that, that could be another big plus for them.
It could be a gigantic benefit, a huge boon, if they can at least find those frags to work with. For now, though, FURIA obviously 1 minute and 30 seconds on the clock. Novice again on the angle he's playing from, waiting to see if there's any peaks coming out. And that probably is the benefit of actually having all 5 of these players on land. With this setup, you can quickly glance across. He can try and feed that information from his teammates' monitors if they don't have a clear call-out or a clear, precise angle onto that view. It just helps as well with cams. It's one of the little additions that where we're now in this world where a lot of these games are played online. If you can still have the facilities to have a setup like this throughout a season, it's going to just benefit you so much more in those close scenarios. And this is probably going to be a close round when push comes to shove in the final few seconds. As we have 50 seconds on the clock, we haven't had a single pint of blood being spilt yet. No one has been dropped down to the ground, but finally there is a frag found. Drunks oversteps his boundaries, walking into a pincer position there where Lender gets the kill against him. Opening up the round now for FURIA with 35 seconds, Tim. Can they make it work?
Slow start from FURIA, but that is something I think that we've seen in the last couple of rounds. Not necessarily the slow element, but that they are methodical. They like to get themselves into certain positions and then execute from there. Bursa will go in and start getting that diffuser down on the ground. Now the smoke canister misses, and that is going to be critical as Bursa is successful. And with 5 men left on the board, this is almost an impossible retake for INTZ. So Lemai will get things started with a kill onto the main man, Novice. Highs will get one for himself, however, onto VNX, and this is likely to be how we see this round play out now. It's just a war of attrition as INTZ lose player by player when they try to push into that location. There goes another 2. Bursa, Highs, Lender, they finish things off. A good team round once again from FURIA, and they look electric right now on the attack of Consulate.
Super solid gameplay. It just feels like they're basically on autopilot with how they're playing it right now, Tim. They're floating in like a dandelion through the air and just living it. They are really living their movie on the side of FURIA. If the W7M effect is what we're now coming to look at for teams that come back in fresh and really hot to the mark from the off-season, then FURIA are the next team that are on that list, because this is great.
That smoke canister was a big part of that, Jackie. Obviously, Novice pushed into the front of White Van. And the thing is, it's unfortunate because generally the plant spot is going to be in front of White Van. So in those terms, it was perfectly placed. But realistically, that is not where the plant came. And Bursa, heads up play, got himself in front of the black car instead, got the diffuser down on the ground. And interestingly, that's 3 rounds, 3 plants and 3 different planters, Jackie. FURIA are happy to just go with what works. Whoever has the diffuser in hand knows what the plan is. This is a team that look like a team. They know where the plant spot is. They know where they are going in for. The communication is good between them, and they are happy to step in and do whatever is needed, whether that be frags, whether that be getting the diffuser down.
And And that's what's scary as well. Because if that's the set focus they've got here, where it is so well prepared in terms of the focus just being on get in, secure the site, and lock it down, even when they're in a disadvantaged position when it comes to manpower, they're still making that work. That does go to show good clean-cut comms. And going into round 4, let's see if they can keep it going and not drop off, not have it become a broken streak. Ooh, potentially could have had some broken feet there, Tim. They were trying to make it much cheaper for FURIA to buy shoes, it seems, but they're able to get by. They don't lose any toes or any feet, and they keep themselves in a good position into the round at least. So no early contact there for INTZ, even though they were trying to run that cheeky angle underneath the bottom of the door.
So far, INTZ have been unwilling to retry anywhere that they've lost. They've swapped sites every single time. No real iteration from them there. Duds is going to open things up with a kill onto Fred this time around, and they are defending the Archives Teller's site again. Alemi with a huge double on what looks like a run out there. Will be shut down by Bursa, but will not mind that at all as he takes 2 along with him, and that leaves us now 2 versus 4, and it looks solidly like INTZ are going to be able to get their first successful round on the board. But I'm sure FURIA won't mind this. We've seen the Archive site be generally quite defender favoured. It's been developed quite a lot in LATAM, more so than we've seen in the other regions, and the teams have got to really good grips with how to defend this site. So FURIA, they'll probably just take this one on the chin, but it is still a good start and a little bit of a toehold for INTZ.
That is, unless FURIA can somehow clutch this one back from the jaws of defeat. Novice, 7 frags. And he add to that and make that total tally even bigger. Right now, positionally, INTZ, they're in a good spot. They can trade for one another, but the same can be said for Bursa and Novice. They're going with a buddy system, walking in with one another, trying to clear their angle. A little bit suspicious about any potential positions that could be being played, and unfortunately they weren't prepared for that. Drunks dropping down onto Bursa, slaughtering him. Beautiful pre-fire there from Novice though on the turn of the corner, ready for the follow-up shots as well, and only barely does he miss that, Tim. That could have been another 2k for him, but instead it's a first round for INTZ. A good way to shut it down and not let it get out of hand in the clutch.
Good early round from INTZ there. That was a really important section for them, was getting in, getting that opening kill onto Fred, and then following it up with more. And they really, Alemi with that double run out, just absolutely put his boot on the neck of FURIA there, and they just never let them get back up and get into the round. We can see Novice on the replay there getting himself a nice kill, trying to build his way back into a tough 1 versus 4, but shut down shortly after that for INTZ to put their first round on the board. They need to build from that. They don't want to be looking at a negative first half when they've been on the defense here. They could do with at least a 2-4. They certainly don't want to see 5-1.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Don't let it spiral out of control. If things are going to take a bit of a turn, you know, at least nip it in the bud as soon as possible. FURIA's first 3 rounds were super solid, especially from round 2 onwards. Those back-to-back look nice, but INTZ, that was fairly good. You wean them out into a close clutch position. It almost looked as if Novice was going to get himself up towards that 10 mark fairly quickly, though, Tim. Like, the pre-fire around the corner was on point. You could see he's honed in. He is definitely feeling it right now.
The interesting thing in that last round was because of the good early round coming in from INTZ, it made it very difficult for FURIA to be able to focus on the objective, which is what we've seen them have so much success with in the first 3 rounds. Let's not forget we've had 3 plants inside of those first 3 rounds. Fred, Heiss and Bursa all getting in on the action and getting that diffuser down and activated. But when they lost a couple of men in the early round, they really struggled to find a way to push themselves towards a victory. So that could be a little bit of a sign, a little bit of a heads up for the team of INTZ playing against them of to how to beat FURIA on the attack here, and that is to do everything you can, whether it be bringing those trap operators, just try to slow them down, don't let them get near sight, and just prevent them playing that objective, because in the last round when it came down to gunfights, struggled a little bit, but of course there was also the unpredictability of an LMI run out, and that's not going to be the case every round.
No. And it's also one of those, like, once you kind of use that as your big trump card, right, then you kind of do at least put the paranoia on. So maybe they will second-guess themselves in a few of the plays of thinking, could be a bold play from INTZ. They might try and do something outrageous here. We can't really play it as standards as we would. That's something to speculate on, and something to potentially see that could develop later on. For now, though, you can see what is clear-cut and the pathway that is laid out ahead of them. They want to make their move in here to attempt to get that diffuser down. Novice has left it on the floor for now, so it can be picked up later, and he's looking for the entry frag to give them that pathway to success. Instead, though, it's going to be over on the other newcomer, Lender, who will lend a hand to Furia, taking his way through duds and dropping down the Jaeger immediately here into the round. Now giving them a clean-cut 4 versus 5 going forward. They already have those lines of sight open in towards the bomb site, Tim, but it's not going to help them. VNX pipes back, shuts down Novice on the rappel, and puts them in the 4v4 with a minute and 20 left.
Very nice angle from VNX there on a long line of sight through to those console windows. Really makes Furia think twice about pushing into sight from there. Now, I'd be interested to see exactly what's going on in and around the bathroom and whether they've got that area locked down as they did last time, and then they can force the attackers back. But looks like the Maestro of Drunks might just be looking for a potential jump out there. He was just on that window. Out he goes. He's not going to have any joy now. It's not easy for him to get himself back inside. It is certainly a long way from there. He will shoot down the barricade, make it back safely, but that is going to have given a good indication as to exactly where he will be in the map for Furia going forward. 40 seconds left to go, and out comes the smoke utility. Into sight heads Bursa. Control of Yellow Stairs is in possession of Furia, and that is a good first step in trying to get this diffuser down. There is plenty of cover from the direction that INTZ are going to be attacking for Bursa here. It is not going to be easy for them to impact on this. Bursa, however, he's had to scramble. He's had to move away with those lungfuls of noxious gas coming in, preventing him getting that diffuser down. Alemo will take Fred off Yellow Stairs as well. Drunks with one onto Bursa. That's diffuser down cold on the ground. 5 seconds left to go and this race is run. Furia get themselves a kill. Vitz trades it straight back out. Time ticks down and that is round INTZ 3-2.
You could see the focus, you could see the game plan, the fact they were just attempting to get on site, get that diffuser cracked open. And yeah, they gave themselves a really nice platform to do so, but you're up against a smoke that has so much utility. All 3 of those cans of Sanguine Arsenic that were just sat on his utility belt, Tim, waiting for that perfect opportunity to dash him in one by one. Not only burning time off the clock, but also sustaining consistent damage and making it so hard for them to get a plant in. At that point, that utility has done its job to a T and secured another round. It doesn't matter if you've got the sight. If you're up against a smoke in a position like that, he is going to make your life a living nightmare.
Heading into round number 6 then, final defensive round for INTZ, and they have certainly woken up over the last couple. We saw Furia come in with a very strong start, taking a 3-0 lead, but INTZ, they've not been rocked. They've wobbled a little bit, but they've certainly got themselves back into the fight, and they are pushing Furia towards the ropes here. They are looking to rein in a few body blows and just slow them down, stop them in their tracks, and we're going to be heading back down towards the garage site this time around, where INTZ will try to round off a successful 3-round rotation. Now, importantly, compared to what happened last time for INTZ, is to try and deny access to the garage area for as long as possible. Furia were able to get that wall open quite quickly. They got piano control without too much of a problem, and that was really telling for INTZ. It made it very difficult for them and allowed Furia to get in and get that diffuser down. That's where we've seen Furia have their real success so far, is when they've been allowed to play the objective. And INTZ, for me, I think they need to try and take a firmer grip over piano, but it doesn't look like that is going to be the case.
Main point here for INTZ as well, just get another round. Draw a line in the sand right down the middle, take this a free split on the half, and then reset going into the second half of the game. Novice has started to slow down a little bit here. Obviously, he really was popping off into the first 2 rounds, at least into the last one. He wasn't able to find success getting that pick off the rappel. He was instead just dropped off. The rope was cut and he fell down to the ground and left a bit of a crater where he landed. He's got 8 frags. He had 7 off the back of 2 rounds, and there's now 2 minutes on the clock here in round 6. He's looking to get a pick, Tim, really trying to find the opportunity to hit that shot, but VNX repositions, playing smart. Vertical angle now brought into play as he puts himself up on top of the desk. Really is hoping that if they push through, he can find a frag. Has to back off though with the concussions coming in and just tries to stay alive for the meantime.
VNX is doing a great job here. He has wasted half of the round up on the top floor. Lendrit will be finally getting the kill onto him, but as I say, that is a lot of time wasted on the top floor when you are ultimately attacking onto the basement. So great job, VNX. Shame he couldn't escape with his life, but I'm sure that he will be quite happy with that because the rest of the time on the clock is going to tick away quickly. But FURIA able to get map control now. They should be able to move across and start working from piano. They still have the sledge of Lender available to them. He's going to drop down now and start to open up those vertical angles. But the big difference here to the last time that we saw them successful is that there is much less time on the clock and much less pressure for INTZ to absorb.
Time really starting to run out now. We've arrived in the crunch zone, and this is where FURIA, they need to start to speed things up. Make some noise. It's now or never. 30 seconds nearly. This time is whizzing by. We're seeing the repositioning come around. They've got control of piano at least, so you have the vertical angles to play with. They're trying to open up as much of the floor as physically possible so they can aim down from above and hit those shots onto your players like drunks that are still defending, watching the main doorway in. The stairs have also been compromised. At this point, FURIA are in a good spot to push in. They just have to decide when they want to execute, and it seems like the call has been made. Novice turns around the corner, bombards his way through duds. He's been smoked off though. He can't afford to push in, and the clash is still there, Tim. As long as she stays alive, she might be able to waste a bit of time, but it won't matter. One by one, they find angles to peek from. They're hitting their shots. They shut them down. The clash backs off. It allows Novice to peek on the Zofia, gets the headshot from the rear, and they have a perfect round.
Good first half from FURIA there, coming in and just giving INTZ a little bit of a bloody nose, letting them know that they are in for a fight. 4-2 it is after the half, but we do see the attackers have reasonable success on Consulate, so we may well see a little bit of a swing in momentum now that INTZ are on the attacking side. This first round particularly is going to be important. We're going to be heading to archives for FURIA's first defense. Now, I'm not sure, we've seen them there 3 times previously in stage 1, and we only saw them have 1 successful defense, so only a 33% win rate on this one, Jackie. Now, I'm sure some work has been done in the off season, but FURIA, they're going to have to bring something to archives that we've not really seen from them before.
They got some tricks though, Tim. Have they got a couple of magic tricks up the sleeve? Potentially a good mile of different handkerchiefs that have been tied together. Maybe one of those flowers that extends out and sort of pops out. You know the ones I mean?
Certainly do.
Hopefully,
maybe a flower
Tim,
that squirts water on the lapel.
Yeah.
The
yeah,
old classics.
That is a bit of a vintage one. Or, you know, the packet of gum. You try and take a packet of gum, and they're like, oh, do you want to stick a gum? And it just turns out it's like a little buzzer in it, and it electrocutes you a bit.
But it's always got some like terrible off-brand name that makes it really obvious, like joke gum.
Yeah, or electro gum, and you were like, hang on a minute.
Hang on, I've not heard of that brand before.
Yeah, what is this, like 5 gum? Nah. But you'll definitely feel it.
It's new. You won't have heard of it before. My cousin lives down south. I've just been down city. It's big down there, really big down there. You wouldn't have heard of it.
They love it by the coast.
Give it a try.
And then, you know, you're sat there with your fingers slightly hurt, and you're like, what's the point? I just wanted some chewing gum.
I've got no gum, and I've been shocked, and I'm not your friend anymore.
I've got no gum, no thumb. Thumb's gone. Day's
no
gone.
fun.
It's ruined. Literally, going back to bed at that point, Tim.
Just calling it a do.
Right, well, a side that certainly isn't sleeping at the minute, and hopefully no one is sleeping on them, is FURIA. They've been playing really solid off the back of the first half. Obviously now coming into the second half here on Consulate. Is that sustainable? Can you keep it up? Or will it begin to deflate again like another joke item, somewhat like a whoopee cushion?
The question is how much noise will be made as that deflation process happens. Will they be able to swing and make some noise and just do enough to get themselves over the line, or will INTZ be able to drag this one back now they've got themselves onto the attack? We can see that they've taken the top floor quite well, so generally speaking, when attacking onto archives and tellers here on Consulate, you want to get some top floor control of admin particularly, get that floor opened up so that you can aggress directly onto the teller's site, and then once you have that control, you push into Visa as well and think about getting the diffuser down. But you have to be very careful where you try to put that diffuser down. We can see the pulse of Duds is downstairs and waiting, heartbeat scanner in hand. He's just waiting to pick up those key heartbeat signals, and then out comes the nitros, and we can see just how much utility's been put in the teller's sight as well to prevent the players being able to just hop up on the marble plinth or onto the table where they can find safety from those nitros.
At this point, it is a little bit of a lull across the battlefield as well. We haven't had too much over-aggression from INTZ. They are playing fairly reserved, and that could be a bit of a potential downfall for them. If Fred is able to pull off a gigantic rotation, it is going to be a bit of a marathon for him, not a sprint. He has to rotate effectively the whole way over towards the other side of the map, come in through a back door and punish, whereas the carnage has already kicked off a little bit before he arrives at the party. Vitz and Bursa get a killer piece, putting us back into a 4 versus 4, with Drunks going out the window and Novice following suit. Here's the rotation from Almau as well, going down the spiral staircase. There is 2 players down below. If he pushes for this, he might be able to cause a bit of carnage. Fred finally arrives in close to him, but the vertical play, oh, that is disgusting. He is trapped there, slowed down so much by the Melusi that he can't do anything as the bullets start to rain down upon him, and from a position of a 3 versus 3, it's just left now in the hands of one man, Highs, and he isn't living the high life. VNX has a clear-cut angle onto him, fires down a few bullets once again through that pre-made murder hole there on the stairway. You're so slowed by that Melusi, you're just walking into your own demise. They basically just lined up for the abattoir.
Certainly did. INTZ able to close out the round there, and patience was key for them. FURIA just effectively, as you say, held their angles, but unfortunately were not able to take any real effect from them, and INTZ were in no rush whatsoever to make those challenges until they were good and ready. And sometimes that can be the key. You know, we talk about rounds being played out too slowly and you leave yourself too little time to make any adjustments. That is always a risk of doing so, but if the execute plan is solid, it's not too much of a problem. And INTZ showed us that there. Great round from them.
No, clean stuff, good hold. Gets them back in the game and at least keeps the game going as well. It shows us that there is more of a competitive nature to come out of this one on console. It isn't going to be that first couple of round Furious side that we saw just running away with things and shutting down the game. Now at least it is quite close. It's a 4-3 split overall on the scoreline. INTZ with a good start as well. That's going to let you flex your muscles a little bit. You know, stretch it out, Tim. Get the dirt off your shoulders and feel a little bit fresher on your following attack rounds.
Good start for INTZ. That is exactly what they needed. Round 8 then, 4-3, and still just like the last matchup we saw between Team 1 and W7M, very little to separate these two teams, and it just goes to show the level of quality that we have here in LATAM. All the teams are so closely placed. It's usually something that I say when I'm talking about Europe. It's, you know, EU is generally very stacked in terms of a region. Every team is always a threat to every other, but we are starting to see that develop more and more in LATAM as well, and it's something I love to see because all it does is just absolutely elevate the entertainment for us, because you just never know what you are coming into.
Oh, it's awesome. It really is sick. And it means that the whole season's hopefully going to be even more crazy than Stage 1, which, oof, is definitely going to be a tall order. Unfortunately for Duds, the man he was trying to kill of Novice wasn't slightly taller, or those bullets might have actually hit him in the head. Oh, Tim, out the window, look out below. He tried to time it perfectly with the use of the nitro, but it's not going to land. It's not going to blow them off of the rappels and take them down. They were able to drop at least far enough away to stay alive off the back of that, but that was definitely a bit of a fright. That will scare you and get your heart pounding going into the rest of round 8.
Drunk's very aware of the potential for a jump out onto the balcony there. It hasn't come yet. We can see the barricades are still in place, but without... Oh no, they do have the Nomad on the side of the attackers, so that is definitely a point in the credit there. Vitz, I'm sure, has got those air jabs out and ready, and we are seeing quite an attack mount from the admin side here, and I think this is something we will probably see more of as we see Melusi played on this site defensively. As I said, it does give you a real option to shut down the push on yellow stairs and make it particularly difficult to move from there forward once you take control. So far, INTZ are choosing to take over the east side of the map instead. They've got the upside down rappel established, or very nearly so, on the balcony there, and just making it very difficult for Novice to play inside a meeting now. Novice on 10 kills so far for the day, Jackie, but has slowed down a little bit over the last couple of rounds.
Oh, yeah, he came out with a bang. I think it was 7 kills in the first 2 rounds.
It was.
And then he just sort of tapered off a little bit, right? Obviously, it's still a good performance overall. And you can attribute the fact that he's basically single-handedly won those first 2 rounds for the team, just off the sweat of his own brow. You have to try and keep that up. You can't just have those flash in the pans and then taper off. We need to see a little bit more from him, because he was definitely a gigantic boon as for why FURIA were winning those rounds so heavy-handedly. They might be able to get another one, though, if the heavy hands of Lender continue on doing that. Pulling the trigger as he'll slaughter his way through another man. The Nomad has no chance, as she is now dead. Drunks suffers the same fate as well, leaving it just on 3 players for INTZ. They have to commit to the plant here. Alamau cannot come off the diffuser. Sticking on it, just behind the smoke, Novice will push, cleans it up, and shuts it down. It doesn't matter that they're still alive, because they'll win based off the time.
This is what I said about INTZ in the previous round. They were patient and they left it, and they wanted to get their angles, get themselves established, and get the kills when they were presented to them. But, as I pointed out, the risk that leaves you is there is no wiggle room. There is no time for adjustment if you get into a position and are unable to get the diffuser down. So that was something that they've just struggled with there. Alemao gets himself in at the last minute, and then, unfortunately, nothing. We can see that Nitro just missing there. I tell you what, that was heads up from INTZ to get themselves off the rappel in time. But, ultimately, they just left themselves to be the subject of the clock decision, whereby they didn't have enough time to get that diffuser down.
The difference it would have made if he held the detonation for like another second there could have been the difference of at least a lot of damage and potentially a kill. But hindsight is 2020. In a position like that, it is going to be hard to time it, even at the best of times. And quite lucky it actually went off. We've seen some ridiculous reflexes in the past with a lot of the Nitros, Tim, where if it's not in a cheeky position or it's not been timed to perfection, half the time it just gets shot out of the air from the really solid reaction speed that we've seen coming out of our players throughout the whole of LATAM.
Very, very impressive. Most of Jackie, as you say, I think I've maybe shot one out of the air once, and that's probably in about 1,000 hours of play, which I'm sure isn't impressive by these guys' standards. So we can see that Maluse, again, 2 of the gadgets just being played there inside of the garage, showing the importance there, making it difficult for attackers to move in and get that diffuser down. Now, we'll see whether FURIA take sort of, not necessarily a leaf out of their own book, but if they recognise what went well for them when they attacked onto this site, and make sure that they hold on to garage and piano particularly to stop those vertical angles coming in.
All right, well, round 9. INTZ, obviously on their attack. Let's see what they can do with this potential play that could be quite cheeky. Sending in Alamau to get quite aggressive from the get-go. Sprinting his way around, clearing out floor by floor. A bit of a light clear as he bombards his way through. Also switching back to the drone so the automaton can relay a bit of information over towards him. Doesn't have to face check it. He's already got so much info for the side. If he slows it down here and then comes into play a little bit later on, sets himself up to pounce based off the rest of his teammates now doing recon, he could be a gigantic boon for them. We're actually quite far through the round as well. We've got about 1 minute and 45 seconds left here on round 9, and they've got good map control. Only issue is, FURIA, of course, the positions they're in, they are entrenched. They're really turtling on this one, Tim. They're not giving much away, no overextensions, we haven't seen them peaked, and we've not actually seen any utility forced out. They'll still have those smoke cans. At this point, I see no reason why Highs would have used any of them. He should have 3 full of smoke cans in his back pockets, ready for a late round site take, which can be so awkward to deal with.
I'm pretty sure that I've just seen, 3 drones captured by 1 mute jammer there. That's not something that INTZ can be doing. I know that they put in a lot of value on this bathroom position, and they're absolutely right to. They have to clear the man out of there if they want to be successful at attacking onto this site. But they can't just throw drones away like that by just feeding them one after another. After the first, they should know that the mute jammer is there. Duds it will be who gets in and gets the kill onto Bursa, but he's wasted nearly 2 minutes there, and we can see the drones, they are just sitting there, Jackie. They're not being picked up, they're not being utilised, they're not being moved around. Duds, however, will move Novice off the map with a headshot there. 5 versus 3, we find ourselves 35 seconds left to go.
It's still winnable. It's a bad spot to be in, but 100% is still winnable here for FURIA if they play their cards right and they hit their shots. Some cheeky angles in play. Lender essentially pixel sniffing on the Maestro. But can he conduct the team to a victory here, or will INTZ be able to win it on their attack? 2 players are low. Both Duds and VNX have just suffered some fairly bad wounds, especially for Duds as he's now dropped down to the floor. Fred not quick enough on the attack towards the stairs. 6 seconds on the clock. Drunk's fully committing to the plant now. He has to get it down. If he's knocked off, the round will be lost. Luckily, he's able to fully commit to getting the diffuser down and keeps the round going. 2 versus 3 on the retake. Lender slowly pushing up, clearing out towards the garage wall. In a position like this, most of the time it's a write-off. It is so hard to retake this site towards the garage wall because of the post-plant positions. You have clear open angles to be able to watch that diffuser and be able to pick it up each and every time. It's all left on one man on highs now, walking down the stairway. But with 15 seconds left, Tim, the dream's dead.
It certainly is. That will be a round going to INTZ. I am almost certain. 3 seconds left to go. It is, of course, 7 seconds to go through the full diffuse animation, so you have to be getting onto that diffuser by that point, and not possible there for FURIA, so INTZ will close things out. Alemo picks up that final kill, but one way or another, whether that kill came in or not, the round was already over and on the board for INTZ. That's going to put them now 4-5 on the scoreboard, and they're certainly keeping themselves in this one, but there is no more room for errors. They cannot lose another one without drawing this map at the absolute best. So they have to take these next 3 rounds, one after another, if they want the win here. And for me, they are just being too slow, Jackie, and that is going to cause them a problem over this next 3 rounds. As you said, once again, you called it. Drunks is getting that diffuser down, and if he comes off here or is shot, the round is over, and that is a position that INTZ are leaving themselves in far too often here so far on the attack.
They're playing super risky with it, with the timing, but they're not being penalized for it, Tim. So at that point, it's like, where do you paint the fault? Who do you blame, right? If they're able to just get away with it time and time again, and for FURIA, even if they have some of that utility that is so needed to just negate that, and they're not able to use it, or they lose that player at a critical last second, and then you can your smoke alive for the whole round. You can keep in a position where basically you're trying to have him play the 1vx late round to deny the plant, and then he goes down before they even get it off, and you can't use those free smoke cans that have done nothing for the whole round. It's not worth it. It's a shame, but that's the way it has been going. Back into round 10 for now, though. It is a 5-4 scoreline. FURIA win this one, you take it to 6. INTZ win this one, you have that guaranteed 5-5 position, and you really have milked as much as you're going to get out of it up until this point. That is the best outcome for them now, to get another round here and bring it back to a 5-5 split.
As always, we start wondering about FURIA here, and any teams that get themselves onto that 5 mark and then struggle to push themselves forward, struggle to just force that draw into the books and give themselves the opportunity to win the map overall. And right now, are we going to see that sort of faltering coming in from FURIA, or will they be able to push this one over the round? Not a great start for them, as Duds once again gets that opener, this time taking Lender off the board.
That's sick, though. That's a huge way to open it up, and this is brilliant play from a player like Duds on the Ash. Use that speed. Use the fact that you can charge in, and you can get into those awkward nooks and crannies and open up the round so quickly. It's a brilliant attack, and it takes down a big hitter, just in terms of the operator alone as well, losing out on your Maestro just mere seconds in. But there is a trade. Fred, we were saying earlier how normally his defense is where he plays his best. He's very conniving, very smart with the angles he utilizes, Tim. And that is why he operates so well. He keeps you guessing, doesn't tend to play the same angle more than once, won't stick to those one and done positions, and is so cheeky with his rotates. Getting a nice frag there back against Dud keeps this round competitive and means that there is still a big chance for FURIA, as now you've basically got rid of that early lead. You put it back into a 4v4.
Fred's just very unpredictable, but he's very decisive with it. So he will get a kill, and he already knows where he's heading next. So he's full sprint, and off he goes. And it makes him very difficult because, as you say, you can't track him down. You can't predict where he's going to be heading next. Now, VNX, he predicts the movement of Novice fantastically and just kills him as he goes to drop the hatch. So that is going to be the mute off the board, and potentially a nitro along with him if it hasn't been used. So the operators up in piano at this point will be that little bit safer. But here goes Fred on the potential flank from the spiral stairs. And as we say, unpredictability is one of his major strengths now. Is he going to catch a man on the backstab? I don't think so. The round desk is certainly aware of the presence of Fred and says, you are not coming through my reception for free today. Puts out the bullets and forces him all the way back downstairs and into sight. But with 35 seconds left to go, I just start to become a little bit concerned once again about INTZ and their time management and getting themselves into a position to get this diffuser on the ground. Fred as well, he's managed to move himself upstairs. He takes a shot onto the air jab. That's going to free up Bursa. Takes the leash off. He does come round, swings onto the sledge, will take down VNX, shut down by Bits on the close corner though, but there is another. There is Bursa moving through on the Malusi. Will he have an impact on this round? No, shut down by Bits, followed by Drunks onto highs. That's going to close the round out. Round 10 goes to INTZ, and we find ourselves once again, Jackie, 5-all. That's 10 rounds, and we're heading to 12.
My, oh my. Here we are then. Game now in quite a sticky predicament for either of these two teams. It's been so damn close, and I mean, this is probably the fairest position we could have got into with this, right? It makes sense. They're looking fairly evenly matched now in terms of the skill ceiling that we have coming out. We're having good counterplays. We're having good entry frags. But there's always a trade. There's always a backup plan. Now, the game going 5-5, Tim, we're in a brilliant position for this one to be a bit of a barn burner off the back of the first map here on Consulate.
Certainly are. We're going to be heading to the top floor for round number 11. Furia, they are going to try to recreate what they managed back in round 8 when they were able to win this site. Now, we saw basically it was one on the clock. Kalema, who tried to get inside in the last few seconds into A site, tried to get that diffuser down behind the bomb chassis in meeting, but was taken down by Novice, I believe it was, on the Maestro in that round. And that closed out the round pretty much for Furia. But INTZ, as I've said, need to be quicker. They can't leave it to that last 5 or 10 seconds again. I want to see them getting in with 20, 25 seconds to go. So if your man on the diffuser gets dropped, you can get somebody else in there. Get that briefcase collected. Have another opportunity to get it on the ground. But meanwhile, Furia, they cannot rely on the clock being their saviour every time. They need to be getting in and just getting a few more frags, I feel, at the minute.
Round 11. Oh, so close in terms of the scoreline, in terms of the quality of siege we've had coming out from either side. But the one thing that isn't close is the poll. We asked, based off the comeback, who takes this match? And there is still 70% now going over in favour of Furia. INTZ with just 24% of the vote. That is a drastic change, considering it was 83% that initially voted for INTZ at the start of the map, Tim. A lot of people jumping ship and now going for Furia to take the gold here on the opening map.
Certainly looking for it. Certainly looking for it. They want something to cheer about, and I think just like us, Jackie, they always love an underdog. And right now, coming into this, I would say that, you know, loosely, I think Furia had that title, but they've certainly shown us, just like W7M, that work has been going on, and they are here and ready to play. And those new players, particularly Novice and Lender, they are settling in very, very well so far. But right now, it just feels like there's a bit of extra momentum with INTZ, and you think if anybody is going to come out and be able to actually close this one down, it is going to be them. So we can see Dudge just taking a second there to ensure that that sound-emitting proximity alarm is taken down. So I mean, they're pretty aware that he's on yellow stairs at the end of the day. Flashbangs are raining in now. Novice will open things up with a kill onto Alemo, but we can just see there is a bit of furniture in the way of Duds' line of sight there that's going to keep the man for Furia alive.
Ooh, 3 players here alive and kicking for INTZ. They're looking to try and back, and Vitz will be able to remove the vital signs of Novice, at least making it somewhat more manageable, but it's not going to be easy. Fred, how does he lose out in that encounter, Tim? He was on the stairway. He should have had the advantage in that fight. Instead, He falls down. He slips over on the stairs. He's gone limp. And we're back into a 3 versus 3 with nearly 40 seconds remaining here in round 11. This has really started to take a bit of a wild turn. It seemed like it was so clear cut, but now I don't even know where this one is going to go. Bursa, Heis, and Lender, the last 3 remaining defenders for FURIA, are waiting for the push to come around the corner. Sledge busting out the hammer, tearing down the soft wall and getting through. Good use of that sanguine arsenic as those canisters go flying out through the window. They block off the entry point and burn off critical time for INTZ, leaving them with not very long to make their final stab in the dark against the site. Drunks, you have to plant. Luckily, there's a hard wall that will block it, but Heis can just charge straight through. Instead, he'll just peer around the corner, gets the shots off. They went for the risky late plant. They went for the classic go-to style of siege they've been rocking, but again, it comes back to bite them.
And it will, Jack, it will. You are not going to win 100% of the time when you are leaving it so late in the round, because also the problem for INTZ there was they were scrambling at the end. It wasn't even about that was their first choice, realistically. They were struggling to get into sight, struggling to get the control, and they just had to throw it down when they didn't have it. I don't know if you noticed, but Lender was underneath on the mute as well. Very potentially had a nitro in hand. I don't know if he'd used it earlier in the round or not, but he was certainly down there to make sure that INTZ knew that they were living on borrowed time at that point, and he was ready to shut them down. It puts FURIA onto a guaranteed draw, 6-5, best of 12 here. So the best that INTZ can hope for is getting themselves around back here, taking the draw and heading into map 2 with the opportunity to take 2 points overall. FURIA, however, they could come in with a big surprise here and get this first map in the books.
That'd be huge. Especially for Novice, man. Especially for how well he's been playing throughout this one, Tim. 13 frags, 7 deaths. Super solid gameplay the entire way through. He had some nice little clutch rounds. He's had a couple of rounds that have been attributed solely to him, especially back into the first 2 rounds of the game when he was on attack. He was looking fantastic on the Zofia, and it really played into his play style. So definitely MVP right now in my mind for FURIA, especially as this being his debut game coming out for the roster here in BR6. Tim, I think people are going to be singing his praises, and of course this is only the first map as well. There's still another chapter to go in this story.
He's certainly one to watch going forward. We know that Novice has got the ability. We've seen him play on MIBR previously. He is certainly capable of playing at this level. But coming into a new roster, as we've said, you don't always know how everybody's going to gel and how everybody is going to play. But Novice showing that he is anything but a novice, coming in, really applying that experience. And as you say, coming out with a great first map here on console. And I'm sure that FURIA are going to be desperate to see more of the same from him. And the thing is, that will start to bleed into the team, Jackie. That sort of confidence and experience coming in and showing success will be picked up on by the other players, and we might just see a few more of these FURIA players turning into stars over the rest of the stage.
Hopefully there will be stars that will shine bright into this round in particular, as this is a pivotal one. By far the most important at this point, because if they win it, they can take the game and shut it down 7-5. If they lose it and the game does go 6-6, then unfortunately for them, you are not going to be getting that first map win on Consulate in the bag. It will be a draw inside of the game, and it will be up to the second map in the series to decide the outcome of this one. Slow and steady so far, though. They've not really overreacted into the round. They haven't got too aggressive on the side of FURIA. They are basically just playing towards the site, playing slow siege. They're not over-aggressive. They're not charging out. We haven't seen any unnecessary runouts. They're not risking it into this final round.
They don't want to throw it all away by trying to grasp at it. And ultimately, I think, to be honest, FURIA have probably got the measure here that, you know what, if they just carry on playing as they are and allowing to have their head, to do as they wish, then ultimately INTZ are going to burn out, because that's what we've seen. They're going to leave it to the last 10-15 seconds, and FURIA will have the opportunity to close the round out. Lender comes in and just absolutely shuts down Vitz on a vertical nitro there. So that's now 5 versus 4, and with only 50 seconds left on the board, still INTZ are not really in a position to make any sort of realistic attempt to get the diffuser down just yet, and they will end up potentially leaving this too late, and I think that's what FURIA are banking on.
35 seconds left. At this point, Drunks commits to the plant, and it seems like he actually is going to be able to pull it off and get it down, but no, that changes in an instant. The nitro pops off. The decimation and the detonation blowing the floor out from underneath him. Duds picks it up and tries his luck, but history repeats itself. It's the definition of insanity, Tim, as he's now been blown to high hell, leaving it all on one man to see if he can save this run for INTZ. It's all on Alamau. He can't come off it, and they're going to try and do it again. Instead, it'll be the UMP, the Universal Machine Pistol, securing them the round and ending the run here. Furia pick it up. That is carnage.
Great plays from Furia. They deserve every ounce of that victory. They have come through. They've ingratiated 2 new players into the team extremely well. Novice, top of the pops there. Absolutely no surprise whatsoever. He's had a very, very solid outing for himself. Made a nuisance of himself multiple times. Look at that. The 2 new guys, Novice and Lender, 25 kills between the 2 of them. Somebody at Furia deserves a pat on the back, whoever has chosen